So this is the question we ask everybody. So I'm going to ask you, because I'm not sure they have asked you. Why Hernan Bas? And what they mean is, why is this relatively young artist from a city that isn't always thought of as the first city that you think of where artists are coming from, what is it about the work that's really sort of engaged people? And clearly the work, people are engaged. What do you think people are seeing and responding to in your work?
I don't know. It's always been a mystery to me too, to a degree. You know, I think I've been lucky enough where I make work that I respond to, and I think with any artist, just makes what they like. They want other people to respond to it similarly, and for me, it's an indulgence. I think with any artist, it's an indulgence to make work that they would want to go to a museum and see in 100 years too. I still scratch my head that people still look at my work, and especially being like, you know, the Hernan from Miami, that I still think I am to some degree. Like, this is ridiculous to me, you know? Not in a bad way, but like, come on, you know, like, thank you, you know?
Do you think of audience at all when you're making work? I mean, does it ever occur to you that, are people going to understand this, or how they're going to respond to this move?
Definitely I think about the audience, because I might have obscure references, but while I study obscure objects and references and things like that, I want the work to have a sort of pop bounce to it, where if I'm looking at Victorian mourning rites from like the 18th century, I want to make it look like something Warhol might be able to get away with too, you know, where an easy understanding of something that comes from a place that doesn't have to be super schooled in it, you know. And by that I mean you don't have to read the Encyclopedia Britannica to sort of grasp like my obscure references.
Decadence is obviously, it's a personal attitude. It's the Oxford Dictionary calls it luxurious self-indulgence. But it also implies a kind of economic prosperity, doesn't it? I mean, I think you kind of have to be rich to be decadent. You might go into a poor area and mirror saying, well, you know, in fact, there's, you know, the crumbling palace that is sort of decadent. But I think you still have to be prosperous to appreciate that. So we're entering an economic period now that's pretty intense. Do you think that might affect the work somehow? Or?
I don't think so. I think there's different levels of decadence and different levels of what can be appreciated as decadent. I just bought a house in Detroit recently, and we're driving down the neighborhood, and on the lawn there's this giant sort of plaster Black Panther on the lawn, and like that is just so motherfucking decadent, you know? And like it's gorgeous, and like that to me is no different than like J.K. Huisman's like Tortoise, you know, like, you know, you might be just a, you know, downtrodden sort of mentality, and you know, might not have the same finances that a 19th century dandy would, but you make these same statements, and I think at this point in time, you're able to still be eccentric and decadent without having those finances anymore. And I think that's something that's changed in the course of history. And you know, if you go to friends' apartments in like the Lower East Side, like they can decorate these places as if it's Louis XVI's castle, but it's made out of paper mache, you know? So you could be decadent and not sort of have to have it covered in jewels. Like the tortoise upstairs, like those are all fake jewels. You know? Right?
We know that you look at major famous artists and make lots of references to art history. Do you also look at illustrators? And
I was a comic book kid growing up, and I don't really talk about that too much, but I think it did have a bigger influence on me than I kind of think I can even admit to myself in a way. But you know, I can like Todd McFarlane, you know, did like X Factor, and you know, all these books. Like I did have a whole sort of background of illustration in my you know head originally, but for me it's more about conveying a concept. If it happens to be through illustration, that's the avenue, like conceptually, that I will pursue. And it's weird that people sort of think of contemporary work, like someone like me or Laura Owens, for example, as being based off of illustration, because when I walk through like the Met, it's like illustration, 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 illustration. You know, it's it's the lives of saints too. I don't see the difference. Maybe it's a new conversation with contemporary art that I'm part of, but I don't know.
And I love certain illustrators, but there is in the art critical world a distinction that's made, I think, oftentimes between illustration and fine art. Is that a distinction that makes any sense to you? How do you bring it over the line?
I think it's not, to an extent, it's not even up to me whether that goes over the line. I think it's up to the audience whether they think what I'm trying to convey surpasses. Because for me, illustration in the classical sense of children's books and things like that, usually it's not their own ideas being conveyed. And I look at a great children's book, and it's rare that the author is also the illustrator. And in those instances, like for me, I'm the idea guy and the illustrator, and I think that makes a big difference sometimes.
So how much of a role does your family play in your life and work today? Are you close to your family?
I'm closest to my siblings. I'm one of 6. I have four brothers, and the oldest is a girl, my sister. And for me, I was the third born, and my older brother and my older sister sort of were the big influence on my life for the most part. Like my sister read the Anne Rice novels, and I would watch soap operas with her. And my older brother is like a bartender in New Orleans, and it's like a mega goth, So I kind of didn't have much of a chance. Like I would watch Days of Our Lives with my sister, and then listen to like Iron Maiden with my brother. So it's like this weird mix.
Were you a child when you realized that you were going to be an artist?
It's weird. Like I never really remember having any other instinct to do anything else. Like with the one exception of like being in 7th grade and being a Floridian 7th grade child and wanting to be a marine biologist because that's what you do. You snorkel, But other than that, like, yeah, my father has recordings of me when I was 4 years old. Like I paint, it's weird.
So you've always been an artist.
Yeah.
Does it matter to have a gay audience for you?
I would just say yes. Kathy Griffin.
If the book was in a library, you wouldn't want it to fall only into the gay study center.
Yeah, because I don't think even the best scholar of feminism or any other sort of marginalized group would want that, I want it to be read by everybody, and I don't think that anyone can say otherwise. Like, you want your story to be universal, even if it's, maybe not everyone's story, everyone should read it, in my opinion,
And I certainly feel that way throughout the work, but would you say that the more recent work is whether consciously or unconsciously becoming more generalized, more universal in the audience it might address?
I think it's always going to be per se queer, because my interests, most people would consider queer to begin with. Like right now I'm looking at like futurist dance from Russia from like the turn of the century. It's like, yeah, like what straight artist is looking at that right now, But like, so, there's going to be that sensibility no matter what, but I just don't think it's necessary to write an art history that says the gay chapter, the feminist chapter, the lesbo chapter. Like, come on, it's just art, And it just should be just the art history, not gay art history, not,
Mm-hmm.